Hello, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you are watching a Dyer-Situation. Today, I'm gonna be singing, Penguins of Madagascar. And, yes, I know, this is technically a continuation of the Madagascar series in a way, but in my opinion, it's more like a spin-off. Maybe you could even consider it to be just a movie of the show Penguins of Madagascar. So I'm not too bothered. I'm not thinking it's like a sequel to that horrendous Madagascar 3 movie or anything. I'm really thinking it's taking the best parts from all three of those movies and giving them their own movie. Which, you know, I can respect. I've heard something of a Madagascar 4 announcement in coming in 2018, but I'm not gonna be too concerned with that until a trailer comes out, because a lot can change in 3 years. So what am I thinking about this? Thinking it'll be decent. The trailers look kind of dumb, but it's for kids. I guess they're meant to look kind of dumb. And I've heard there's 1 or 2 references to Madagascar 3 in there. Hopefully they are short and I can forget about them. And hopefully this movie just goes by its own merits. And there you go. I'm not going to judge it as a Madagascar sequel. I'm gonna kind of judge it as its own thing. As you really should do a spin-off movie. Because it doesn't necessarily have to have the same tone as the movie it's spinning off from. That's the idea. So, yeah, I'll see you when it's over. And here I am! So, was this at all like the Madagascar 3 experience, in which, I first saw Brave? Hold on. Anyway, was it anything like, Madagascar 3, where I saw Brave sucked, kinda like, Big Hero 6 in a way, they're very similar movies. And then I went and I saw Madagascar 3, hoping it would make up for it, and it turned out much, much worse. Was this like this? No. In fact, if I might say so, it was the exact opposite. This film is everything Madagascar 3 wished it could be. Now, yes, I know some of my complaints from that movie are still in this one, such as lapses in logic, the fact that they go full weird cartoon on us. It is still there, but but this movie does it a little better. For instance, Madagascar 3 lapsed logic in order to give us really weird visuals, like bears riding tricycles and stuff, and it was weird and uncomfortable, and it just made you feel gross. But in this movie, they use this to create some actually pretty interesting chase scenes. Like, there's a scene in the beginning with a gondola that, like, was really creative, and I just kept on going, and I was really enjoying myself. And Madagascar 3, that never happened. They had chase scenes, they had, I guess you could call them interesting chase scenes, but they invoked anger and confusion, instead of this, which was adventure. This movie definitely had a spirit of adventure to it. And in fact, if you cut out a small scene in the beginning and changed around a line or two, this could actually just be a standalone film about 4 brothers, essentially, going out and having an adventure, basically. And I'm serious, you could do a very simple edit and it could be just like that. But, of course, just because they wanted to appeal to fans of the other movies, they had to include these other things in there, which, you know, is understandable. And it's a very good experience. In fact, there is one point I'd like to go over that has minor spoilers, not really plot-breaking, but it is mentioning something towards the end of the movie, and I don't really want to spoil it, but I'll give you some clear warning. Essentially, this is Madagascar 3 if they put some thought and effort into it. The animation looks good. The animation on the villain, like at first it was kind of disturbing, but it worked. It worked like with the idea of this character that they were going with. The fact that he is evil, but he has his reasons behind it, and you can see he's pretty gross. He's an octopus, and they really do make full use of the flailing arms and the curling up and stuff, and give you some kind of disturbing images. There's some pretty disturbing imagery in this, like, not bad for children or anything like that, but pretty dark moments. Like, there's points where you're like, oh my god, these poor penguins. I think they're gonna get hurt. You know, stuff like that. Which is good! Like, it didn't ramp it up, like, to any extreme level. It wasn't like Box Trolls level of dark, but it was dark in a few spots. And in a good way. And really, there's just so many things I could just go over with this. But just to give you a short version, so far this is the best movie I've seen all year. Leaps and bounds ahead of Big Hero 6. And I totally recommend you see it, even if you're not really a fan of the Madagascar series. This thing takes all the good elements from that and does its own thing with them in an enjoyable way. And it doesn't break completely off of like off of the original movies, like by changing the art style or anything like that. But it feels like its own movie. And that's the most important part. That's what a spin-off should be. Its own movie starring separate minor characters. Every character in this has an arc. It's amazing. Like, there was one or two arcs in there that were kind of like weak, I would say. There was kind of a romance subplot between one of the penguins and this other character, but it was in the background. A few members of the rival gang, the North Wind or whatever, they had slight arcs, but not too much. But there was like 3 different good ones in there. And, you know, just kind of minor subplot, but they all lead somewhere. They all add to the experience in the climax, and they don't get confusing at any point. It's very good. And there's also little subtle touches in the background. What do I mean by subtle? At one point, the penguins are shot with tranquilizer darts, right? And we see all 4 of the penguins are noticing them, and we see that 3 of them pull their things out, and the other one just turns around. And it's very subtle, it's in the background, but we don't actually see him pull it out, and then later we find out that it's a tracking chip, and they managed to track him with it. But it was there. If Madagascar 3 had done the same thing, all 4 of the characters would have pulled their tranquilizer darts out. We would have seen this very clearly, and then later they would be like, oh yeah, we put tracking chips in you somehow. Let's go find them. That would be the Madagascar 3 way of handling this, but this movie did it really well. Like, this was good filmmaking, to say the least. I highly, highly recommend it. That is the full non-spoiler review. Now, for slight minor spoilers, because this is something that happens towards the climax, I'll first like to mention, slight spoiler warning, slight spoiler. First like to mention, this other totally, mostly unrelated movie, Despicable Me 2. Now, with Despicable Me, I really did like it. It seemed more adult than it was letting on. It took this idea of a villain raising some little girls, something kind of cheesy and weird, and made it actually rather heartwarming and nice. And then the sequel came along, and the sequel was really childish and predictable. And just kind of a letdown. If you're wondering why I didn't do a Dyer-Situation of this, because I saw it on DVD, and I only do Dyer-Situations for movies. But for movies in theaters, I mean. But they had all these different things going on in the climax, and one of them was the heavily advertised one of turning the minions evil. right? They had this little serum that they gave them, and it turned them into big purple evil guys. But the thing with that is that they had it built up throughout the movie. All the minions are getting abducted, they're poisoning them, they're turning them into the purple guys. And I'll tell you what happens with them. They appear during the climax in their full army, and they're cured within about 2 minutes. Like, they're totally back to normal. And it was totally inconsequential, and you don't really care. There was no tension. In this movie, pretty much the exact same thing happens as far as the setup, where penguins are being abducted and turned into monsters. But with this, at the climax, there was actual tension. Things went wrong in their plan. You were seeing, there was a sense of danger. Bad things could happen to people. You were actually giving a shit about what's going on, and it wasn't resolved in 2 minutes. It lasted till almost the end of the movie, until it finally got resolved in a satisfying way. So basically, this movie also beats out Despicable Me 2 in that way. It took that kind of simple idea. You know they're gonna turn back, but they put you through the roller coaster in this movie, whereas in Despicable Me 2, they just say, oh, fuck it, this movie's for kids. That's why Despicable Me 2 was so disappointing, because it felt like a just-for-kids movie instead of a family movie like the other one was. And this movie is definitely a for-all-ages film. Highly recommended. Go see it. There's not much more to say. If Madagascar 4 is anything like this, then the series is definitely getting a boost. Until next time, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you have been watching A Dyer-Situation.